Welcome to more with the Mac interactive session. We're going to have some short demos. We're going to have some Q&A. We're even going to have some special guests stop by. So sit back, relax, get your notes and ask questions, and enjoy more with the Mac interactive.
Welcome to More with the Mac Interactive. This is session number 2 of this, number 8 overall. Probably the last one unless we get enough requests. I'm not going to do a sound share because today I'm just going to do something that we do over in our iPad and iPhone classes with TTJ, that troublemaker that's here. Anyway, I'm going to do what's on my Mac. So I'm going to my applications folder. Again, y'all can't hear this, but I'll just go through. Now, you might remember back in session 2 or 3, I think it was, when I went through the Finder settings and I told you that there was a checkbox in Advanced that you could make your folders show up at the top of all your windows. And that's how I have it in my applications folder. So my first folder is my news folder. Let's open up this folder and see what's in there.
How do you do that?
I have my 9 to 5 Mac application. That's, Mac news, rumors, stuff that's coming up, tells you when betas are available, stuff like that. 9 to 5 toys, that's actually another 9 to 5 Mac blog extension per se. They basically tell you what's on sale. And not just Apple products too. It's like Anchor products, they just basically skim the internet for you and find you all the good deals. I've gotten some great things out of here, even a great griddle one time that I got, and a toaster oven. Me and Matt's one of our favorite websites, Cord Cutters News. There's an app. It actually 9 to 5 toys, 9 to 5 Mac, and this app, Cord Cutters News, is actually an iOS app, but there are certain apps that allow you to install onto your Mac, and that's what I do with these apps. And I get the news right in the app on here, as well as my phone and iPad if I did have one. But Cord Cutters News, that's basically letting you know who has the best cord cutting deals. More recently, they say YouTube TV is winning. They got more subscribers in the last quarter of last year than anybody combined, AT&T, Fubo, and all the other ones. So it's a good site to get good news from, good streaming deals. This is where I go around Black Friday to figure out what's going to be on sale. Right now, I'm getting Peacock, Disney Plus, and Hulu for $5 a month for all three. So good deals that Cord Cutters News gives you. And then Mac Daily News, pretty self-explanatory. Gives you more than Mac News, though. It tells you about iPad sales, iOS stuff, phone stuff, and things just to look out for when it relates to different apps and upcoming software updates. And that's the last app in that folder. And here's my Ultimate Podcast Bundle. These are all the apps that I use for my podcast. Audio Hijack, of course, which I'm running now. Claiming there's my microphone is missing, but whatever. My Fargo application, that's my soundboard. I mean, you can have over 1,000 sounds in this. You can have multiple soundboards. You can lock soundboards. You can have them floating. You can import sounds on the fly. This is a great app. I think it's their most expensive app. No, Loopback is their most expensive. But this app is only about $50. I bought it in a bundle so I could get the 35% off discount. That was a couple of years ago. Now I just get a small upgrade fees. Great company, great support, voiceover accessible. If you have feedback for them, they get right back to you. Great company to work with. Fission, that's an app that compares to Amadeus Pro, so to speak. Amadeus Pro to me is much simpler, much easier. You can cut audio and you can make ringtones. I only got it because it came in the bundle, but honestly, I've never used it. Loopback, this is basically a virtual soundboard, so you can connect different devices without using a mixer. So I have 2 microphones that I use, one on my headset and one external that I'm using now, and I can mix it with my Farrago app, which the one I just talked about, which is my soundboard. I can have a voiceover come in. You can connect anything through this virtual soundboard. You can actually connect a mixer with an XLR cord and have somebody sitting right next to you as if you were in the studio together. I mean, this is a great app. Now, this is the most expensive one. It costs $100 by itself, but if you get it in the bundle, I think it probably costs somewhere around $65. Sound Source, this is an app that I bought because I thought I was going to enhance the audio quality of my headset when I was doing recordings in Zoom and Audio Hijack. To me, it's a little disappointing because it didn't do what I wanted to do, but I paid for it, so it's here. And that's the last app in that folder. Then my utilities folder, which everybody has on their Mac, but because it's I have all my folders at the top, it's up here. Let's see what's in here. Activity Monitor, Import Utility, and all these apps that I'm naming I've never used. Audio Mini, Bluetooth Setup, Bluetooth Audio Exchange, Color Sync, Console, Digital Color. The only app in here that I probably use is Disk Utility and VoiceOver Utility, so we'll get out of that folder. All right, I have a app here called Adapter. This thing will convert anything to anything, and that's just the best way to describe it. It'll convert MP3 to MP well, it won't convert audio to video, but it'll convert video to audio to any format. But you can also import or convert MP4 to MKV or MP3, M4A, M4R, which is ringtone format. So basically, you can take a video file and convert it to anything audio or make it higher quality with 4K. I don't use it that often anymore, but it's an app that's free on the internet. It's open source, so they update it. Have never had any issues with it. Amadeus Pro, all y'all know what that is. It's my editing app for podcasts and making ringtones and just clipping audio, period. When you bring video in here, it automatically converts it to audio. So if you want to keep your video, I would recommend using something else like Final Cut Pro or QuickTime Player. App Store, we all know what that is. Audio Book Binder. This is a audio book converter where if you have a bunch of audio clips and you want to make it into an actual audio book that the Books app will recognize, this is an app that you can use. It's free in the Apple apps and the Mac App Store. Authenticator app. I personally don't even know why I downloaded this app, but I guess it goes with Microsoft, and sometimes they want to authenticate you through the app. So this is what this app does. Automator, I don't even use, so I couldn't even tell you what it does. I have a Bible study app on here. My Books app, where if you have a book on your phone or your iPad and you have iCloud Sync on, it's going to sync to your Mac. I very rarely read books on my Mac, though. Mostly on my phone. Bundle for iWork. I'm assuming this is an app that goes with the Pages, Keynote, Numbers stuff, because it says iWork. So, and that's what the bundle for my Apple Suite apps used to be called. Calculator, pretty self-explanatory. Calendar, we know what that does. I have a Capital One Shopping. It's actually an extension. So if I'm on a website like Amazon, eBay, whatever kind of shopping site, if it has a coupon, it'll let me know that I can get it cheaper if I use a little code that it will send me. Chess. This app has been on here since I can remember, all the way back to 2011 or 12 when I first started using my Mac, and I've never opened it up, so I don't know how accessible it is. Contacts, we know what that does. Desktop Verse, this is a daily verse app where you open it up each day and it has a different Bible verse. Dictionary app, pretty self-explanatory. Dropbox. Honestly, this and Google Drive and OneDrive are only on my Mac because I back up files there frequently and just have an extra backup. I don't use them regularly. The only cloud apps that I use is iCloud and pCloud. eSword, this is an app that I downloaded and paid for because it's supposed to be a way to be able to do the Strong's Concordance and study the Bible in different ways. I haven't been able to get it to work very well, but it's paid for, so it's here. Easy Music Converter. This is another converter app. This is strictly for music, though. You download or you import music into here, and you can actually make playlists, convert them to MP3 if they're M4A or another format. I haven't used it in years, but it was free, or actually it was $1 in the App Store when I got it back in 2013. Now I saw it the other day, it's like all the way up to $7, so even if I didn't have it, I wouldn't buy it, so. ExpressVPN, this is my VPN. This is a very accessible, 98% accessible app. The only part that's not accessible is adding different locations to your favorites, but it is the app that I use for VPN on certain occasions where I do things like, be in another location for Netflix, Hulu, whatever the case may be. FaceTime, I'm pretty sure with us all being Apple users, we know what that does. File list export. I love this app because it'll take something that, like for instance, a list of movies or a list of folders, or a list of files, whatever you want to look at. You can have to go through your whole music library and put all the artists above their albums, above their songs, and put it all into a list. And this is actually in the Mac App Store. It's a great app. Find Mine, we know what that does. If you have an iPhone or iPad, yeah, there's also a you can turn it on your Mac, so just in case somebody steals your Mac, you can do the same thing that you can with a phone by wiping it clean and basically making it non-usable for whoever stole it. Font Book, I don't know what that does. I'm assuming there's probably fonts in here that you could download and use in different documents and things like that.
Trying to respond to your chess comment, which I'm not a chess player, so I don't know how to use the app, but it does appear to be accessible.
No, it's very accessible. I used to play it a lot, and once in a while I jump in there. And then you asked about Font Book is actually the font manager for the Mac.
Right. Where you Yep.
Okay, now that's weird. I could not hear you guys at all. So I'm on GarageBand. We all know what that is. That's an audio editor. And Matt, you've done recordings in GarageBand on the Mac before, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that's very, very accessible. It's not the easiest app to use, but if you dig into it a little bit, have some patience. It's an app that as a totally blind user you can use. My goodness, Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Sheets, Google Slides. Do I even have to talk about these? I mean, they're just Google apps. No. So, I mean, they're only on here because when I downloaded Google Drive, they came with it. I've never even opened them up. So, I mean, I prefer all Apple apps. Y'all know that. All right, I have this app called Hazel that a buddy of mine told me about some years ago, and it's actually a great app. This is basically an app that you can set rules for. Like, I can say, whenever a Zoom recording is done, move it to this folder automatically, and it'll do it. Or I can say, whenever a file is updated in this folder, copy it to my iCloud Drive folder in this folder. So it's very intuitive. You can do a lot of things with it. What I used to use it for is, when I used to download a lot of Kindle and iBook or EPUB books, I would have the different formats go into their own folders automatically when they were done downloading. So it's a great app. It's a paid app. You got to go to the web to get it, but it is a great app to use. Very accessible, though. Home application, if you have anything besides iPhone and iPad, you know what this does. HomePod, Apple TV, what else can you do through here, Matt? Like Logitech cameras and stuff of that nature, right?
Yeah, pretty much anything you can do on iPad and iPhone, you can do on the Mac, from what I can tell anyhow. All your smart home accessory controls and your scenes and automations and all of that.
Yeah, this is one of those apps that I just strictly use on iOS personally because it just, I don't know. To me, it just belongs there. I don't know what use you have for it on the Mac. I guess you probably could view your cameras if you had a screen, but I've never really opened it. I've opened it up just to give it permission, but nothing more than that. Icon Plus. This is a app that I downloaded from the Mac App Store because it was free. And back when I was running my business in 2016, 17, and 18, I was looking for an app to try to create a logo and stuff. And I tried this. Not very accessible, though. It could be now, but I haven't used it in years. I just download stuff because I paid for it, so I just put it on my Mac.
Image capture is good for scanning, like if you need to scan like a form or something that you got to send or email to somebody. That's in print. You can scan it and it will save it as a PDF. This is what I do for state agencies for authorizations and stuff. So
what do you use for a scanner?
I have an HP 4650.
Now here's a question, because now I have a Canon multifunction, print, scan, copy, all that. So I have that scanner. But some apps on the Mac, like Pages and a few others, also use continuity camera. You can use your iPhone's camera as a scanner. Does image capture do that, John? Because I've never played with it.
I'm not sure. I've never used it that way. Let me put it to you that way. I just use it to scan documents.
Yep.
Okay. And then, of course, you got iMovie here. I've never really played with this app on the Mac anyway. On the phone, I did create a movie, added some background music, and Matt, you've used it more on the iPad for it has a lot of stuff that you can do with creating movies and putting music in there for you, right?
Yes, the thing you're going to run into with iMovie, as with any video editing app, it's not a lack of accessibility. it's the fact that there's so much that's visually going on when you're making movies. So the iMovie app by default on the Mac uses this storyboard mode where you're compiling, clips together and putting them in the timeline and so forth. And while it works with VoiceOver, it can become tricky to try to do that when you can't see where they're going. Now, on the iPad and iPhone version, there is a feature now, and I believe it has come to Mac OS, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't tried it, so I don't know. But on iPad and iPhone, there is a feature of iMovie called Magic Movie. It almost works like the Apple Clips app, where you basically just import or record stuff, and it automatically puts it where it needs to go for you. And if that feature is on the Mac OS version, that would be a really easy way to make a movie, even if you can't see it. But it definitely is on the iPad version.
Okay, might have to check that out just to see if that Magic Movie's in there.
Yeah.
Here's a app that me and Matt have talked about in iPad and iPhone. It has come to the Mac, and it's very accessible, works great just like it does on the Apple TV, and that's the Infuse app. All you do is open it up, and it basically scans your network for the same server or hard drive that you're using through your Apple TV and put your library and all your sync content on your Mac, and you can watch a movie on your Mac. I personally don't use it on my Mac. I do open it up and let it sync, but I do all my streaming on my Apple TV. I don't do anything on the Mac. I have played with the Amazon app, which we're probably going to see here in a little bit, the Prime app, I should say. But other than that, if it ain't YouTube or a short clip that I'm watching on Hulu or whatever, then I just don't even bother with it. There's iRing. This is an app. This is strictly for making a ringtone. It's through my buddies that make Walter Pro. What is their name? It escapes me. What is their name? That's gonna bother me. Softorino. It's made by the same people who make Walter Pro. Now they do a subscription base, so you just pay a yearly subscription, or maybe I think they have a monthly, and you are able to use all their apps. And iRing is strictly making a ringtone. They have it where you can import and clip it, but what I do is I clip it in Amadeus Pro or adapter and get the clip that I want, and then I bring it in here. I honestly don't even use this app no more, but it's included in the bundle, so it's on my Mac. Keynote, we know what that does. I just used it today to turn 6 of the More with the Mac sessions into video files so they could go up on YouTube. I'll be doing the iPad sessions next. Kindle, I heard that this app was more accessible than it used to be, because when I used to use it about 5-6 years ago, it was virtually unusable. You could open it, you could see that it was the Kindle app, but that was about it. But I downloaded it about 3 months ago because somebody said on another list that it was accessible. I just haven't gotten around to trying it yet. Launchpad, Matt, talk about it.
Well, Launchpad is a way basically of providing almost like an iPhone or iPad-esque view of what would traditionally be the home screen. In this case, it kind of pulls a full screen interface down of all of your apps in columns and rows and, in a grid, basically. It used to be, there was a period of time where what we would normally think of maybe as the F4 key would open the Launchpad. Now that does, I think, Spotlight search. So they don't have a keyboard command for Launchpad. It is on the dock. I created a keyboard command for it also, but, it's not if you like doing it that way, it's kind of like, personal preference. How do you open your apps? You can use the applications folder like Cliff's doing right now. You can use the Launchpad. You can rely on the dock. Just don't forget that your dock is not going to have all of your apps on it, but certainly your most popular and most common ones will be there. And obviously, you could add things to your dock, but then it can get very cluttered too. So it's all personal preference.
Yeah, my dock is empty except for photos and I think music. I think is on there, and I don't even open up that app either because I listen to all my music in the Apple TV on the Apple TV or my HomePod. So
you do commanders for most of the apps that you want to open, right?
Yeah, yep. Version 99.99% of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Liar app, it pronounces it liar, but it's LIAR, and that's my RSS feed app. I don't open that up as much as I used to because I get a lot of my news and Apple articles from directly from the websites that I visit. So I go there. I don't use the RSS feed anymore. Mail application, I'm pretty sure we all know what that does.
I don't. You better tell me all about it.
Listen to session 3. Maps. Matt, have you ever tried, and John, have you ever guys tried Maps on the Mac?
I just
never
opened
opened
I
it.
haven't really used it. I just wanted to see what it would be like. Apparently, you can actually sync it to the phone and iPad and such.
Yes, well, that's what I was going to say, and my answer is basically the same as his, which is that I opened it to see what it would be like, and I actually looked at that feature, like when you select a business name or something, and then you get directions to it. You can actually immediately, and I forget exactly where it is now. It's either in the VO Shift M or one of the ways you get a menu in there. You can actually send those directions right to your iPhone so that they immediately pop up on there.
I was going to say that I've done more than you guys because I've actually done that once or twice. I looked something up in the maps and I actually sent it to my phone or shared it with the person that was going to be driving.
Right. And again, this comes back to the discussion that we've had so many times, and I'm sure we'll have many times again, which is that what Apple's goal is that you can use any of these devices for anything. Me as primarily an iPad or iPhone user, well, iPad and iPhone user, I really can't think of a situation where I would necessarily want to do it that way. But if I were sitting at my Mac and I wanted to pull up directions somewhere and I was about to leave, then maybe I would, because I could just send them right to my phone. And I mean, why not?
Mars Edit. Now, this is a blogging app that I used to use. Very, very accessible. Great support, but I have no need for it no more because I use Universe and their site is 100% accessible, and you can't, the way that their site is laid out for a website / blog, Mars Edit is not necessary, but Mars Edit is a very, very accessible site. Do you still use it, John?
Yeah, I still use it. It's definitely supported well. Red Sweater Software is the developer. The guy, Daniel, is amazing in responding to any kind of voiceover questions or issues.
And John, if you have a WordPress or something, you can connect Mars Edit to that. Is that correct?
Yes, you can. Yep. They even connect to Blogspot, which I think is owned by Google, if I'm not mistaken.
They are, I think, owned by Google. Yeah. Yep.
Then I got my meter application on here. I talked about this a few times. It's on the iOS and iPad also. You basically download it, give your calendar permission, or give it permission to access your calendar. And when you got a web conferencing, whether it's Zoom, WebEx, or even Teams meeting coming up, it will tell you 5 minutes before, and it will actually give you a 7-day schedule of what your meetings are that are coming up. Meeting one, that's Google's web application, I guess. I've never really used it. I think I got it free when they were in the pandemic, so, and it was normally $20. So, and then you got the Meeting One Safari extension. So instead of going into the Meeting One app, you can just go on Safari and do it that way. They're both accessible, though. I can't knock Google for that because they are pretty accessible. Messages, pretty much we know what that does. I spend 90% of my time there when I'm on my Mac anyway, so. Messenger. This is Facebook Messenger. I'd probably give it 75% accessibility. You can access your conversations. You can reply. But you can't delete a conversation. You want to delete a conversation, you got to delete it from your phone or iPad. If there's a way, somebody let me know, because I've tried it and I can't find it. You can actually start a new conversation from here too, but you cannot delete it. So I guess 80% is more accurate, but you basically got to be patient with it, though, because you got to interact with the table. You got to use the VO, that jump command works best in this actual app. So Facebook got some work to do, or Meta, whatever they want to be called, has some work to do on that app. Here we go. Microsoft Excel, Microsoft OneNote, Microsoft Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams, Word, and that's it. I feel the same way about Microsoft products that I do about Google. They're only on here because some clients think that they have to have them on their Mac if they're leaving Windows because they can't live without them. So me, John, and Matt, we usually come in here and touch on them, but not go extensive with them. So if you want to be a client of mine, you got to use Pages, Keynote, or Number, because that's where it's at. All right, Mission Control, Matt, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, now Mission Control, I don't have a lot of experience with, and maybe John can fill in some of the gaps here, but basically this is a way of displaying on the screen. I think it's probably best from a visual perspective, a combination of like your open app spaces, your full screen apps, your widgets, different things that you may try to use in combination, like an app space being like maybe I have, Pages and I have Safari open in one space, and then I create another one and I have Keynote, and so you can kind of display these all in either a grid or different views on the screen. John, do you have anything else to add to that?
That's you pretty much summed it up. It's a visual thing, and there's different modes, all application, all Windows modes, and it's usable with VoiceOver, but it's really not a practical thing. It's really a mouse-driven, point and click thingy.
Exactly. I think it's absolutely usable because, of course, it's Apple and everything they do, works with VoiceOver. But I don't think you get the same benefits that a sighted person would get from using it.
All right. And up next is the music app. Like I stated before, I use my HomePod and Apple TV to play music. I ain't gonna say I've never. When it was iTunes, I actually did use it a lot, especially when I did iTunes Match. But since I use the Apple One bundle, I use Apple Music now, and I don't even use the iTunes Match. Some people
now,
use
here
both.
Is the one place, though. Here is the one place. I always say, most people can do everything from their iPad, and that is a true statement, and I do. But we have to be honest and we have to tell the truth. Here is one place where there is something you can do in the music app on the Mac that you cannot do on the iPad. And that is if you have your own music and you can't find it on Apple Music, or you choose not to subscribe to Apple Music or whatever. And so you've got a CD, or you got, your grandson's recital, your granddaughter's recital, and you want to put them in your music collection. If somebody sends that to you and all you have is an iPad or an iPhone, you'll be able to listen to it for sure, but you'll have to listen to it through the Files app or some third-party media player app like VLC. You're not going to be able to get it into the music app alongside all of your other music. But on the Mac, you can, because you can go into the music app and do what they call add to library. I think it still says add to library,
yes.
or something.
Yeah, it does.
And you can bring that in. And then if you do have either iTunes Match or Apple Music, that will sync. So it's also then available in the music app on your iPhone and your iPad. Now, I don't know how many people this affects. I would tell you that probably it's very few people would be able to justify, if that's the only thing, I'm going to spend, $1,000 or $2,000 on a Mac just for that. I mean, if you're going to use it for other things too, obviously it's great. But, just keep that in mind, that if you do want to actually take music that you got somewhere else, can't find it on Apple Music or whatever, for whatever reason, Apple Music's not an option for that particular track, and you want to bring it in there, you can do it. And that's never been a motivator for me to buy a Mac. But when I have one, if there's ever something that I find that I, can't get on Apple Music, I sure do take advantage of it, because Apple Music will still help then with its iCloud library, so that as soon as I put that in there, it'll sync to my iPhone and my iPad, and I can access it everywhere, just like I would have gotten it from Apple Music.
Now, John, you use Apple Music and iTunes Match in conjunction with each other, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And I do too.
What's your reasoning behind that, John?
Just because I have a whole bunch of stuff that's not available on Apple Music that I've collected back in the day when those of us who remember Napster.
All right, then next up we got our news application. I never opened it on the Mac. I love reading it on my phone though, because I can save articles, I can go back, I can subscribe to magazines. It's probably accessible on the Mac, but this is just something I don't do on the Mac. I do certain things on my phone, I do certain things on my Mac, and the news is not one of the things I do on my Mac, so. Notes, we all know what that does. I just went over that in this last session 6 if you already listened to it. If not, it's the very last session if you want to skip John and Matt running their mouth.
How dare you, sir.
All right, next up we got numbers, which of course is the equivalent to Excel, and I can actually say equivalent because I will give Microsoft their credit. Excel is great on the PC. I've never tried to open it on the Mac, so I couldn't tell you how it works, but because I have to use it at work, it's still JAWS and Excel this will be the one time that I'll give them credit. JAWS and Excel go together like peanut butter and jelly, Kool-Aid and sugar, whatever two combinations you want to put together, because they still go together great. And that is the only thing that I give Microsoft credit for. They have always made sure that them two apps, or that screen reader and that Excel, work together. Anything else? Edge, Chrome, y'all still need work. Anyway, OneDrive, that's Microsoft, cloud storage. I talked about that earlier. I have it on here for a few reasons. One, it came with my subscription that I downloaded to teach people. That was sweet. Two, some years ago, I don't remember, I think I had to import some videos or photos, I don't know. Anyway, if you did it, you got 25 gigabytes of free space that for life, and that's another reason why I do it. And again, the third reason is I have files that I back up here, Dropbox, and other places, just in case one of them fail. Online Bible, pretty self-explanatory. I have Onyx. I use it every now and again to clean up the cookies and breadcrumbs and stuff with my computer or my Mac that, when you download something and you delete it doesn't always get rid of the files. Onyx does a great job of that. Pages, I'm not even going to call it the equivalent of the Word. It's the better word processing app than Word. That's my opinion. I like it. I will take Pages over Word any day of the week. If you don't like it, that's just me. So I'm pretty sure John and Matt agree with me on that one. So
Absolutely.
pCloud, my second favorite iCloud storage. I like these guys. They're overseas. They're always emailing me in the middle of the night, but they tell me it's the middle of the day for them, and they tell me to go to bed. But they have great support. Their app, when you download their cloud drive, it's one of those. It's like Mobile Me used to be, John. It actually doesn't take up space on your Mac. I could actually download everything from my pCloud folder into its location in my home folder, and it's still not taking up the space on the Mac. I don't know how they do it. Like I said, Mobile Me used to do it before they switched to iCloud, but I have no idea. Our buddy, the late great Tim Kilburn, he knew more about that than I did because he explained it to me one time, but I just can't remember how he broke it down.
So you're saying it's not only just showing the files and then downloading them when they're needed. You're saying that it actually it's storing them, but it's not using your own local storage or something. Then
exactly. Now I don't know if it's technically streaming it and showing it to you, and that's the way they do it. But I'm telling you, I have 2 terabytes just like I do in iCloud Drive, and I have probably about 700 gigabytes taken up. And it says synced as if it's downloaded. So I don't know if it just pulls it and you have to have the internet connection, but that can't be true either because I've done it when it's offline. It's been offline before too, so I have no idea how they do it. I personally don't. Wow. But it doesn't take up space on your Mac. So I got PDF Office, another app that was free. It said Office. I had Office on my Mac, so I said, whatever, let me try it. I've never really looked into what it does.
How much you pay for pCloud? Or how much they charge, I should say?
Okay, so with pCloud, they give you 10 gigabytes free, more than anybody except Google. And they actually allow you to get a gigabyte free for every person that you refer up to 10 people. So you can actually get 20 gigabytes free. Now, I don't know what their normal prices is because I always catch them on sale. So they run a sale Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, where they give you literally almost 85% off of all their plans. And the 2 terabyte plan is normally like 500 and some change, but I got it for $125. And that's for life. That's not a subscription. Once you pay for it, it's yours. You never have to pay again. That's the nice thing about it. That's why they're my second favorite. Now, I love Apple, but I'm like paying them $10 a month there, 2 terabytes. But hey, yeah, that's how they make their money. And pCloud, like I said, they're great customer service, very accessible. One time I told them I couldn't find the extension to allow them to access my system. And let me tell you another thing too. Just like with Audio Hijack, if you're familiar with it, Matt, remember when you used to have to go into the permissions in disk recovery and give that permission?
Oh,
yeah. You have to do the same thing with pCloud, but it's a one and done thing. Once you do it once, it's it. But the Rogue Amoeba apps they no longer require that. I don't know what they did, but when you download them now, they automatically you don't have to do that no more with the permissions and the disk recovery. Yeah.
Wow.
They released a big article about that. I think back in November, maybe. Photo Booth. I've never used this app. I think it's where you can play around with different photos and backdrops. I think this is a visual thing. You know anything about this, Matt or John?
Take photos.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, put filters on them, and yep.
Okay. Photo Plus. Honestly, I don't know what it does because it was free. And of course, here's the regular Photos app where you can sync all if you delete something from your Mac, unless you tell it not to, it's going to delete from all your other devices. I mean, I don't even open up this app but one time on my Mac, and that's just so I can have a copy of the library and save it to a hard drive. But other than that, I'll leave it alone. Podcasts, pretty self-explanatory. This is Apple Podcasts. No, I don't use any other podcasting app. Preview, we know that we can open up PDFs in there, and even with the what's it called? Help me out. The one where you point and shoot, Matt. What's that called? It's not screen recognition. It's the live text. Even with live text on the Mac, if there's an image of a PDF, VoiceOver will actually read it. All you got to do is VO Shift L, and it will read it. If it's legible, that is. If it's some handwriting, it may not read that, but all print that's scanned VoiceOver will read. Here's that Prime Video application. Like I said, it actually got an update last week too. I haven't been in here in a while. I haven't even signed into it this time because I just restored my Mac a couple weeks ago. QuickTime Player. I mean, I don't use it very often. You can use this for your iPhone to hear the audio on it. I think you can edit audio in here too also, Matt. Is that true? Or video, I should say.
There's some basic editing, trimming, and things of that nature that you can do in there, yeah.
Reminders, pretty self-explanatory. I don't use reminders on my phone or my Mac, so I couldn't tell you about it. Matt could tell you more about it than I could, but have you ever looked at it on the Mac, Matt?
Just a little, just to kind of check it out and see what it's like, and it's very accessible. Yep.
Rocket. This is an application that is free. It's basically made for VoiceOver users for emojis, and what you do is you install this app and you push colon or semicolon, whatever the shift next to the L is. What is that one? The colon or
colon.
Shift? Okay, colon. So you push the colon and you can type any emoji and you can start typing and it'll search for the emojis. There's actually a $10 upgrade you can buy that I did pay for, and there's a lot of emojis. I think he has over like 4,000 or 5,000 of them in there. But this app is specifically built for VoiceOver users. Safari, we all know what that does. Better than Chrome or Firefox.
Yes, it is.
Oh boy. Shortcuts, I've never used this app. People have swore by it on the phone. I played with it a little bit with bookmarks and stuff, but I never really could get into it. It kind of replaced Automator, didn't it, John?
Yeah, I mean, I messed with it a little bit here and there, but nothing significant.
Siri, this is one of those things that I think it's supposed to be for the phone only. I don't use it on my Mac. Do either one of you?
And here again, when I'm sitting at my Mac, if my iPhone is in my pocket and I'm sitting right there at the Mac, I will sometimes use it just because the Mac's right there. But I also have HomePods in that same room. So more often than not, when I speak her name, it's the HomePods that respond, which is the way I would prefer it. So
yeah.
And that's exactly what just happened when I said the name. He responded asking me and telling me to open up my iPhone. He can give me results, but I don't even know what he think I was looking for. But and Softorino YouTube converter. I've never used it. It came in the bundle, so I downloaded it. I'm assuming you can convert YouTube videos just like you can with Downy, which is an app that I actually don't have on my Mac, but I have paid for. I really don't have much use for it anymore, so I didn't even bother with it this time. But it's basically, you get the URL, you drop it in the converter, you could have it do MP4, or you could have it do MP3, and, just audio, and I mainly use it when I download music or sound clips that I want to use in my podcast. Stickies, is this a note thing, Matt or John? What is the stickies?
So.
Yeah, you can actually put sticky notes different places on the desktop and screen and stuff like that. Yeah.
Stocks, I don't do stocks. market or nothing like that. Do either one of you mess with this?
No,
But
don't have the money.
Okay. Strong's Concordance, another Bible app that I thought was accessible. Me and Matt have been trying to play with this one a little bit, and it doesn't run. It doesn't work very well with VoiceOver. But I've been working with the developer, and hopefully it will be accessible. He's getting better. System settings, which I still try to call system preferences, but it's system settings. We all know what that is. I went over that in session number 4 or 5. I can't remember. Template for pages. There's probably over 2,000 templates you can use for pages in here. You just launch it, find the template you want to use, and you get it. It's an extension of the ones that are already built in. It already has a lot, but this gives you even more. John's favorite word processing app, TextEdit. We just went over that one in session 6. The Bible Trivia. I haven't looked at it, but I'm assuming it's a Bible Trivia game. The Document Converter. I used to use this on Word documents when I wanted to convert them to PDFs, but since Pages does that now, there's really no need for it anymore. The Unarchiver app. This basically is if you get a zip file and it doesn't automatically open like it's supposed to on the Mac will use this app to unzip it or unpack the files. Time Machine. I don't use this anymore, but it's still on here, of course, because it's built in. But this is basically how you can back up your Mac totally. Basically, make a complete copy of what you have on your Mac onto an external hard drive or to a network attached storage. My WD network attached storage, and I think the one that I sent Matt as a gift a few years back, both have a Time Machine volume on it, so you can select that as a Time Machine backup. I don't use it. I save everything in iCloud, and when I restore my Mac, I just pull everything down from there. TV application, I don't use it. I use it on the Mac or on the iPad, the phone, and the Apple TV. Universe, this is my blogging app. They need some work on the Mac, but it's very about what'd you say, Matt? About 90% accessible on the iPad and the phone.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
VLC, we all know this plays anything. MP3, MP4, MKV, anything you got, VLC can play it. Voice memos, this used to not be on the Mac, but it is now, and as long as you have it turned on in the cloud, it will have your voice memos that you've recorded on your iPhone, even stuff that you did from years ago, Matt. Isn't that right? That will come to your Mac, right?
Yes. Yep.
And then here's my Walter Pro app. I use this to put ringtones on my phone, but it does more than ringtones. If you have iBooks that are EPUB and you want to put them there, it will put stuff in the Apple Music for you, Keynote, Kindle, you name it, it can do it. Numbers. And the main thing I use it for is multiple ringtones. I did a demo on this a couple years ago, and I don't know if that has changed, but you can only do 250 ringtones at a time. You do anything more than that, it's not gonna sync it. Don't ask me how I know. Trial and error is all I can say. I probably had too much time on my hands that day. Weather app, we all know what that does. And that one we won't talk about. Zoom, we're using that now, so we all know what that does. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what is on your Mac. Well, my Mac anyway. I don't know, Matt and John, do you have anything that I didn't mention that is on you guys' applications folder?
I think you got every app in creation.
Yeah, I have downloaded the extra Apple apps that are the more advanced, so the Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. I have Xcode, even though I'm not a developer. I've always considered toying around with the idea, so I have both Swift Playgrounds and Xcode. What is the other one I have? That Apple Configurator. Again, not something I really expect to use very much, but I find the idea of it very cool. So I thought I would just have it in case the need ever arose to do it. And then there's a couple apps that are more for my family who cited some of the ones that I have on the iPad also, like the Affinity Suite, which is a photo editor, a desktop publisher, and a designer app made by a company called Serif Labs. And the name of the apps are Affinity, AFFINITY, very high-end, editing apps. I also have an app called Airy, just like it sounds, AIRY, which is similar to the one that Cliff mentioned. It's a YouTube downloader, and you just basically copy and paste the URL. There's also supposedly a Safari extension you can enable. I never did, but you can paste the URL of a YouTube video and it will download the video for you. And that is an app that's a freemium model. You can start using it for free, and then you can pay to unlock additional benefits and features. And it's made by a company called Clever Bridge.
Tell us a little bit more about the Freeform app.
Oh, yeah. So if you're taking our iPad course, we're going to take an extensive look on that. And that's definitely where I'm more familiar with it. But it's kind of like, one of you sort of like saying notes on steroids, right? But it's also a bit of a more visual approach. It is built from the ground up for collaboration. So like if you and another family member or a friend or coworker, you're working on a project together, or maybe, even planning a trip together or something. And they use their document type is called boards. They use a board in Freeform, and each board is, a topic, or it's maybe, the trip you're planning or the project at work or school or whatever. And then the board is basically a blank canvas that accepts text. You can put text boxes, you can put photos, you can insert shapes, which if you're familiar with Pages, you know what shapes are probably, but they basically are kind of like the clip art of yesteryear, when you used to have those like cartoon, you could insert a banana or a chair or something. They've got shapes like that. You can insert video, web links, all kinds of things, even draw on not on your Mac, but you could draw if you did this on your iPad with the Apple Pencil or even with your finger, And so you can do all of these things on a board and organize them, move them around, and then, of course, work collaboratively with other people via iCloud. And it's a very cool app. I like it a lot. It's another one of those that probably is even better if you can see it, because there's probably a lot of visual benefit to it, but it's fully accessible, at least on the iPad it is. And I enjoy using it a lot.
Okay. Well, like I said, there's what's on my Mac, and, John, he's not as experienced as I am, so he doesn't have as many. But if there's any other questions.
Cliff, I remember a couple of years ago when I first got my Mac, I think that you got rid of mission control somehow. How do you do that?
You don't get rid of mission control. You can get rid of the shortcut that triggers mission control.
Yeah, what I did is I just went in to, I think I went over this in the keyboard section when I did system preferences. But you go into system settings, you go to keyboard, you go to shortcuts, and you just stop interacting on each category and uncheck the ones you don't want to use. Now, make sure you be careful, because like I said, one time I accidentally unchecked the shortcut that was Command Accent that takes you between Finder windows, and I had to go back in there and turn it back on.
Yeah, Command Accent switches through running windows, open windows within a single app.
Right, so whether it's Finder, Safari, even multiple documents and everything. So, but yeah, find mission control and then uncheck all that you don't want to do. The one that I did leave is, like I said, my new favorite shortcut is Control F5. But I also have an extended keyboard, so I have a control key on my right side of my keyboard. Most people don't. So
that's what I have, the extended keyboard.
Doing those keyboard or not keyboard, but numpad commanders gives me a reason to use my extended keyboard.
Yeah.
Hey, and I'm having a blast learning about the application shortcuts. That is really cool. I didn't know you could do that. No, like when you go to your menu bar, and you know how a lot of them give, a shortcut command, but some of them don't. And Cliff taught us how to make a command, and then it shows up on that menu, on the Apple menu bar. That was really cool. I haven't done them yet, but I got the directions all ready to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
That was another product of the late great Tim Kilburn. He wrote those up for me in great detail.
How to do what?
How to do those application shortcuts.
Oh. What a loss when we not having him, huh?
I tell people all the time, if he didn't know it, Apple didn't invent it yet. So
That's right. He was the man.
Yeah, he was incredible, really, truly incredible. I mean, and it's not only that he knew the information, but he had a way of retaining it, of making sense of it, and presenting it in a way that just was so down to earth and so straightforward. I mean, really. And I'm a little puzzled because after I updated to this version, it removed the widgets that I put on the desktop. So I'll have to look at that later.
Yeah, you were actually going to talk about those widgets and how to manage them on the Mac.
Yeah, I was about to, and now they're not here. You can try to add them back in. I can put myself out there in front of everybody and all these witnesses and just see what happens. But I really would like to. In fact, yeah, I can tell you about that real quick. So there's a couple of ways you can find those widgets, and one of them is to go to the notification center with the VO and the letter O. And if I go over here to my widgets,
grid. In grid calendar widget, weather widget, clock widget.
Now these are the widgets that are just in notification center. But if I
out of grid,
stop interacting,
edit widgets button. Edit.
I can hit edit widgets.
Search widgets, search text field, blank.
Now what we have,
available widgets, group.
Okay, I can go into that group.
All widgets. Selected, Amazon Alexa, Amber, American, Acura Home, Batteries, Best Buy, Bible, Calendar, button.
This is getting the widgets from my iPhone as well. And I'll click on Calendar.
Calendar selected.
Okay.
Cash App Calendar. So
now I'll stop interacting here. Hi. I missed you. We're gonna
out of available widgets. On this Mac, button, from iPhone, button, small, up next, small.
So I have the choice here of like
text, small,
up
next.
I can have a different size widget, small, medium, and I'll click on that one.
Small, dragging small, small inserted.
Now it's put it there. I think if I go to if I stop interacting again.
Out of, drag a widget to play done, button.
And I think if I just hit done now.
Now in notification center, window, one updated item, finder, desktop. Macintosh HD, Mac Lazy, calendar, widget.
And you can now hear that it put the calendar widget on my desktop. If I interact with it.
In calendar, widget, Tuesday, March 19th. Bedford County Face Planning Meeting, text from 10, Tuesdays with TTJ, text from 2:00 p.m. to 3.
So that's how easy it is to add a widget to your desktop. I don't know why they got removed during the update, but you can add, I had weather on here, I had calendar, and I think I had the clock on here also.
Why do you keep your desktop empty? I have always kept mine empty, but I noticed recently I kind of like the idea of using it. Why don't you like it?
Because
you
a commander
shouldn't as a Mac user, because everything that is on your desktop, if you start putting files and apps and photos, it all goes into RAM during boot up.
Right.
Oh,
okay. And the other thing is, I use commanders to open everything, so I don't need anything on my desktop.
Right.
I mean, not only is my desktop empty, but my dock is pretty much empty too. I only have like 2 apps there, and the trash and the recent apps that I have open, which is mostly mail, messages, and Safaris.
What are aliases? I've seen
that's what I'd like to know.
I've seen a folder called aliases or something in my.
It's a shortcut. It's basically like a pointer file that points the system to the actual item. So you put an alias on your desktop to a specific app or a specific folder. And the folder itself is not taking up space on your desktop. It's just a 22 kilobyte pointer file.
Right.
I see.
So, and then for example, say I have a folder in my iCloud drive called Sounds, and it's 2024, and it's royalty free, and then it's clipped items. I have to drill down 5 times to get to that folder. So instead of doing that, I'll create an alias and put it on my desktop, so I don't have to dig through my iCloud drive to get it.
Right. And even that, Gary, is very much a personal preference thing. Me, I would probably add something to favorites in the Finder and then use the sidebar before I'd add aliases, because if I really wanted the folder that badly, that frequently, I would just add it to favorites or use tags. And, so again, there's so many ways of accomplishing the same thing, but it's personal preference at the end of the day.
Well, if there's not any other questions, we'd like to thank Matt from ttjtech.biz and John from macfortheblind.com for joining us in this session of More with the Mac Interactive. Check out the podcast, the YouTube page, and like I said, if there's any other demos or apps you want us to demonstrate, send us an email and we'll see what we can do. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Want a free consultation or some paid one-on-one training? Email us at support@ttjtech.biz or support@stirritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. Or check out our websites for additional free resources. That's ttjtech.biz or stirritup.com. I'm Trainer Cliff. Thanks for joining us. God bless. See you next time.